Hey, I'm Cameron McKenzie, Cameron MCNZ on Twitter, and I wanted to quickly talk to you about how to fork GitHub and specifically how to do it on the command line. As you can see, I've got two GitHub accounts. I've got my own Cameron MCNZ here, and then there's the Learn DevOps Fast GitHub account. What I'd like to do is I'd like to fork this repository, Spock Lizard Docker, which essentially should create a copy of that over in my own repository. Now the key is I want to do it all at the command line, which means I have to install the command line interface tools for GitHub. Fork is not a native operation for Git. There is no git fork command. There's a git clone command, git push, git pull, but there is no git fork command. If you want to fork, you got to use some of the native tools that GitHub or GitLab or Bitbucket will provide. In this case, I need to install the GitHub command line interface tools. You can see it's just a 7 meg download, so that's essentially nothing. Accept the agreement, sign my life away, click next, and do the installation. Now I have the command line interface tools created. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up my repos folder, and then in here I'm going to open up the git bash shell, and then I'm going to just see if the GitHub tools have been installed. Oh, looks like I get some feedback when I do GitHub help. I wonder if GH version will work as well. And there you go, I've got the version of GitHub. Now remember, that is different from the Git tools. Notice the Git tools is git -- version, whereas GitHub is GH. Now what I'd like to do is I would like to clone this repository over here. Let's highlight it, Spock Lizard Docker. You can see there I can get the URL. I'll use that in a minute. But the first thing you need to do is you need to log in from the command line interface. So that is simply issuing the GH auth login, and you say, hey, I'm going to use the auth web commands. It says, do you really want to do that? I say, yeah. Press enter to continue. Notice that you'll get the opportunity to sign into GitHub through your account. So there I will sign in through the web, and then I get an activation code, and you should notice that over here it says there's your activation code. I'm going to copy that. I'm going to paste it in there, and then I'm going to continue, and that gives authorization for this command line interface tool to interact with my GitHub repository. So that is the initial setup. You can see over here it says, hey, the authentication is complete. Press enter to continue, which is exactly what I do. Now it's time to go in and do the fork. And so over here on the repository that I want to fork, that's Learn DevOps Fast, Spock Lizard Docker, I'm going to click over on this beautiful green button, and there is the URL for the repository. I'm going to click the clipboard there to copy that GitHub repo, get that GitHub URL. I'm going to come back to the command line interface tool, and I'm going to issue the command GH. That repo, I want to fork it. And then I'll paste in the URL, and then finally I'm going to add the clone command to the GitHub Fork command line interface command. Run that, and it just takes a moment. It's going to say, hey, I'm going to fork that. And after doing the fork, it's going to do the clone. So now if I do an ls command, you notice there's the Spock Lizard Docker folder, and you can see that all of the good files are in there. There's the Jenkins file. Looks like I got a Maven file, POM file in there as well, so that all looks nice and handsome. And then when I come over to the GitHub repository for Cameron MCNZ and do a little bit of a refresh, click on all of the repositories here, and then we should see Spock Lizard Docker. Look at that. Updated 35 minutes ago over on the Learn DevOps Fast site, but it looks like it was a fork from that repository, and we should even see that right here. Hey, this was a fork from the Learn DevOps Fast Spock Lizard repository, and there you go. That's how easy it is to do a GitHub fork from the command line. And there you go. That's how easy it is to fork GitHub from the command line. Now, if you enjoyed that tutorial, why don't you head over to the serverside.com. I'm the editor-in-chief over there. We got lots of great tutorials on Git, DevOps tool, Enterprise, Java, you name it. If you're interested in my personal antics, you can always follow me on Twitter at CameronMCNZ and subscribe on the YouTube.